All right, here we go. This should be a short one. I just kind of wanted to, as promised, give a short review here, or go over the review that was leading up to what we'll assign out here shortly as or what you're looking at is the quiz. So quiz will be kind of similar feel to this, couple types of questions if you've already looked at it. Basically, couple types of problems that we've done. This is the work that I'm looking for, kind of one last time, giving you that heads up as far as the stuff that I expect to kind of see. I don't expect to be identical, but I mean, this should be there. Don't skimp on the steps as far as what you're showing. So you can pause it obviously and see these. So I don't know if I necessarily have to talk through every single one, but basically the idea here is you're testing this point. You're testing this point in both equations and checking for true statements. Here, I actually could have stopped after the first one, so I plugged in a -2 for x right here. So I took this -2 and plugged it in, took a -1 and plugged it in for y, and evaluated the left side, so -12 minus, plus -5 is -17. It wasn't equal, so actually I could have stopped right there and said, nope, it didn't work. I just wanted you to see, just in case maybe you made a mistake or whatever, either one would have shown that this was not a solution. This is not a solution to the linear system, because all it takes is one not to work. This one actually didn't work in either one. So, yeah, that was kind of the first part. And that's really the check that you're doing. That skill, that check is what you do as like the final step for each of the next two questions. So, solve by graphing. Okay, this one was kind of involved as far as both forms had to be written, so you can kind of follow my steps here. First equation, I had to graph it. I took this 4x plus y equals 3. And rewrote it, got the y by itself, put it in slope-intercept form. There's my slope, there's my y-intercept. Okay, I started at 3, went down 4 over 1, down 4 over 1. Okay, and that's how this line showed up. With the second equation here, so I just graphed it, I stopped after that point, took the second one, graphed it, a little bit more work, I subtracted the 4x, and then divided by -2. Sorry, I just want to make sure my mute is on here. Divided by -2, and then I ended up with, -4 divided by -2 is 2, 6 divided by -2 is -3. There's my y-intercept, so I started right here at -3 and used the slope of up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, okay? So I graphed that line. So two separate graphing problems on the same set of axes, and then I'm looking for that point of intersection. So my point where these two lines crossed was exactly the point. What it looked like was 1, -1. So that's what I'm thinking is my solution. I feel pretty good about it. The last thing I need to do is take that, just like we did above. It's like saying here, test this point, 1, -1, in this equation and this equation, plug it in, and hopefully, if we've done everything and the graphs are correct, that number, that x and that y, should work in both of those, and we should get true statements. So yep, I've confirmed that my solution is 1, -1. Last problem on the review here is a single-sided worksheet. Solving, but using substitution, so no graph. There's kind of a preference there. What would you rather do? Some people prefer to do the graph, some people rather do this, because and there's arguments for either way. This one I think is a little bit more work. You got to be a little bit more organized with your algebra and your steps and keeping track of anything. So I tried to number my steps because it's hard to tell. Obviously, when I'm making it and doing it in class, if you were watching me do it, you could kind of follow. Hey, I started here, then I went to this. But if you're just looking at it like right now, it's maybe a little bit harder to tell. So I'll do a quick talk through here. We're doing all right on time. The first thing I actually did was I picked one of the 4 variables. This is kind of all the steps put together. Picked one of the 4 variables and got it by itself. So I looked at this x and said, hey, that's almost by itself. I just got to get rid of this 3y. So I brought the 3y to the other side, and I had x equals -3y plus 7. Second thing I did, here's my step 2. I took this and I substituted. Here's that substitution. So I took that and I plugged it right in there because I want to replace x with what x is equal to. So I replaced that x with this thing right here. Let's see, where did I go? Right up here then, step 3. So instead of 2x, I wrote 2 times, using parentheses, this whole thing, -3y plus 7. Copy down the -3y equals -4. That's all copied down right there. And then all this is just simplifying and solving for y. So distribute, combine your like terms, subtract 14, divide by -9, boom, y equals -2. That's a big step right there. Okay. Once I'm down to knowing one of the x's or y's, whatever I found first, I'm going to substitute again. So I'm going back now. You can see my step 4. I'm taking that and a second substitution, plugging it in right there. And I kind of ran out of space, so you can kind of see I jumped over to here. But basically, I'm going -3 times 2 plus 7. So -3 times 2 plus 7. -6 plus 7 is 1. So I'm kind of in that spot where we were right here, where I feel pretty good. I've got an X value, I've got a Y value. They both worked out to pretty decent numbers. I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but I think those numbers look pretty good. The last step is, just like we did at the top, is check your solution. Okay, I feel pretty good about this. I'm going to go to both equations now and plug in a 1 for X, plug in a 2 for Y. I do it here. Yep, -4 equals -4. It checks out. Do the same thing here. Plug in a 1 for X, 2 for Y, 1 plus 3 times 2, 1 plus 3 times 2, yeah, 7. So it checks out, and that's my solution. So those were really the two processes. This first process was kind of just a part of your checks for these two processes. So the Quizlet it has the same feel to this. Hopefully you went through this and got that little extra practice and got this done before taking the quiz. I'll give you till Tuesday, 11:59. We might start the next lesson 5:3 before that, but you still have till Tuesday evening to get the quiz done. Submit it just like we would any other assignment. I still am working on Infinite Campus. It's just with getting the videos out and getting the lessons and making quizzes. I'm asking for some understanding there. If you're doing the homework and you're doing it well and staying on top of it, you should have nothing to worry about. I'll get Infinite Campus updated. I know it's hard when there's only one grade in there and it looks like there's I got an F. It's missing. Just get those missing ones in, and everyone should be doing fine. The only way you would be worried is if you just haven't submitted stuff. So take care of that little stuff. Get the quiz done. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you again next week.